All right, we're off.
I see we have found our first resources that could potentially be taken from the runners.
Bombs at the start of the race? You don't need those for Kakariko, do you?
You certainly wouldn't use them for escape either.
Looks like Saku didn't even pick them up. She's headed straight to the village. And we're going to sync up the two runners here.
And today we only have a few rupees for the tier 1 tree pole and a couple of crystals. We have a pendant at the top of the mountain. Now, this being a defeat Ganon seed, we will need to just grab the crystals instead of the pendants. We'll see if they actually have to complete any of those dungeons.
Okay, Flipper's over at Uncle. 300 rupees in the lumberjack. We see Sakura slash about that. She does not enjoy seeing them all the way over there. And, oh, look, people are sending her bombs. They want to make Kakariko go easily for her.
Yeah, the Maple Kingdom has responded, recognizing that there is a potential routing opportunity to save Sakura some time, and that will get her to Kakariko Village a little quicker.
And is she shooting sword beams already? Did someone give her 2 swords?
Holy moly. Well, it seems like a hefty advantage to start with. Of course, that sword won't last forever. We can potentially take that away.
Oh no!
So
DT's under attack!
Are those cuckoos? Or are they something
I mean,
much
they look
scarier?
like old men on the mountain, but they are definitely a cuckoo swarm, which is one of my favorite bits about all of crowd control.
By far the best. It's too bad we already found flippers. I think it's the best to combo that with the fake flip. Just as a reminder, as far as I'm aware, I don't believe it works on Underworld, so I think you have to only use that on Overworld.
Can't spawn chickens in dungeons. That's probably best for the safety of these runners.
It looks like Sakura noticed that there was a cuckoo storm on the horizon and actually took shelter inside a Blind's or Thieves' hideout to try and get some items and some safety.
Oh, and DT is not able to pick up all those bushes in the forest. He gets his 50 rupees. One more hit. One more hit. Oh! I don't know why I'm cheering against him, but there we go. He is down.
Hey, I mean, if you love bullet hell shooters, I mean, this is definitely a best simulation of it. And
Great
your
work, chat.
coins used wisely. Another thing to consider as well, when you have a cuckoo storm going, it is definitely very laggy on screen. So that can sometimes help your, runner of preference, but usually that's a hindrance. Getting 1.0'd on the way into the well, unfortunately.
Saku stumbling around in the well as she does not have the bombs. Someone must have made that happen.
The snipes are massive, and in the name of DT, already facing death again with a one-hit KO timer on.
I mean, that's a great spot for the flute right in the village. Unfortunately, those cuckoos stop moving while the flute's playing, but they will start moving as soon as the cutscene's over. That could get Sakura there.
I think they're paying homage to their, bird overlord friend.
Yeah, I've never seen so many cuckoos crowd around that duck before.
I would probably worship the duck too if I was Kuko, if I knew it could cross dimensions. I mean, these birds certainly can't. They lose actually all their feathers and all of their musculature.
Yeah, that's a good word. I like that word. We can use it.
You may have noticed there are quite a few things showing up on Sakura Tsubasa's side. I have seen silver arrows and Cane of Burna. Definitely someone stole bombs immediately after purchase. I admire that.
Looks like she is going to get that chicken hut that DT, I think, only got some money out of.
But we did the important thing and we got the chicken clip.
Oh, and look at that. Infinite bombs for her. You have shown her mercy.
Certainly a nice find. Unfortunately, not a lot of things we're going to bomb for a little while, so we at least get to have some fun while we're crossing the world. In the name of DT, in the well right now.
And he's going to pick up his lamp. Sakura picked up already on her first bombless trip to the well. And that's why we have the reaction cam.
Certainly expensive to put, out there. A lot of coins dropped for that, but that is a death before we could collect the items. Sakura Tsubasa having to walk all the way back. Or
She
actually,
could just flute, right?
does it work?
I don't know why it wouldn't. Unless someone has unducked her already.
That's unfortunate. With the Kuko Storm, the weather getting absolutely feathery out here. Hopefully she can float her way on back to town. I think one thing that we probably most would want to have if we could add something to crowd control, I think it'd be boots as a feature, but I think that's probably kind of crazy to do.
Taking the boots away from the runners? That is absolutely evil. Or did you mean adding the boots to the runners? Because that also, that would be fun.
I feel like that mechanic would just be too punishing. Because you could add a dash of it here and there, and it would probably be just like mind-numbing. So
a dash, did you say?
Yeah, from kick up dust on our way through or something. I was looking for a better pun than that. Unfortunately, did not end up. Is that the second time we've activated that flute?
I think this might be TT's second trip. Yeah.
I feel bad for Clifford, who has to continuously update us on whether or not the flute is active or not. But we appreciate you out there in the audience making sure that the runners have to second guess every time they pull it out.
Oh, I like DT's use of the hook shot here to just grab these bushes and move himself across the terrain more quickly.
It's surprising how many things you can actually latch onto with it. So that's great, knowledge of the game being put on display.
Oh, and that's right. He saw the item at the mushroom spot, but he didn't make it into the Thieves' hideout. He is, I thought he was done with Kakariko area, but it looks like he's still going.
I think I heard a flute, but did not see one equipped. Has he been unducked?
Oh, probably. Who would even do that?
Some initial frustrations for our runners, but we have finished the town for the most part. In the name of DT, we'll continue south. Sakura Tsubasa heading towards the eastern area, it appears.
She, setting up a houlihan?
Yep, looks like it. We'll need some cash if we're going to do Zora at any point. Now, whether or not you allow her to do so is up to you.
I mean, this will put her at almost 500 rupees. Nothing could go wrong with that number. And DT finally gets to use that flute after losing it several times. Just 20 bucks in the desert.
Just using the free coins that you can redeem through the extension, I believe we could put Sakura Tsubasa underneath 500 by the time that she gets there, if she happens to find more rupees. So, I mean, if you haven't redeemed them yet, that would be a good opportunity. But we do not appear to be heading there just yet. Sakura Tsubasa is actually heading towards the escape sequence, while in the name of DT grabs this very long, out of the way 5 rupees. I think that's
we're going to see a lot of blue rupees today. One of the things about crowd control is that we just take some, hearts and stuff out of the regular item pool, which means if you really want these runners to have an easy time, you're going to have to boost them yourselves.
And while they may be good at the game, a few hearts does not compensate for the effects that we can apply to them, so If you're definitely looking to see them have an advantage, that's a great way to give them one. We move on to the south. In the name, DT gets the first legitimate sword. Unfortunately, 3 sword upgrades behind already. Well, at least he has something to do Mini Mold Arm Cave with for now. If the hookshot weren't enough.
And I do like that little trip he made over to grab that piece of heart. Normally he wouldn't, but when you're 10 minutes into the race, still on 3 hearts, and it's crowd control, I think he's going to have to play a bit more defensively than he's used to.
And instead of a sword, since we have 4 already, Skurasbasa ends up getting 20 rupees instead. Alright, so we have our first bottle as well from In the Name of DT. The contents of which we could potentially manipulate down the road, so we may want to keep that going in the back of our minds. Sakura will also have one in a moment as well. Going to return the fish to the water first. How thoughtful.
I love that little black cloud around DT that happens because the sprite is inverted.
Yeah, not sure yet in my mind if that's supposed to be a poisonous cloud or if that's just simply the displacement of light being refracted weirdly in the inverted sense. I have no clue, but it looks nice.
Hobo is a bust for DT, but he's going to probably head back to the Zora area, though I'm looking at his rupee count. It is not enough to go on a shopping spree up there.
You know, he may be counting on the charity of the viewers, hoping that, they'll forsake him, or not forsake him, have some mercy on him. But I have seen a bird in the water, and this could be bad for DT. Fortunately, somebody had some mercy on him, gave him a full health refill, which may end up being necessary, as these crabs outside of the cave are also very dangerous if you're dodging birds.
Yeah, that'll come in handy. Man, I love seeing those old men flying around. And Sakura's now got over 500 rupees and headed to Zora. So, I don't know. How are we feeling about her today? Do we want to let her just buy the item right away for 500 rupees or make her suffer a little bit?
Chad has already spoken. We have seen 40 rupees removed insofar as the duration of that sentence.
Well, look at that.
In the same token, we're seeing half and quarter magic being given as well, so not all is lost. Unfortunately, no important use for that just yet.
She gets a hammer, a boomerang, and no rupees.
A bold decision to continue forward. In the Name of DT really loves this song. Wants to make sure you and I and everyone else hears it. Sakura walking away from Zora, possibly looking to farm some of the Zoras in the domain.
Well, it looks like someone has really come in handy there and just done a rupee drop bomb for her. She is going to be able to buy the item from Zora.
Yeah, it's well past the window of trying to take them away unless you were already trying to do so.
DT's going to get 20 bucks from Sick Kid. That's good. It is nowhere near enough for Zora.
Ooh, and we had an attempt at sniping. 2 different people took 100 rupees just after Zora, unfortunately.
But this stellar effort. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, she won't have any rupees after this, so, if you need to do anything else like dig game or get into Palace of Darkness, which we have a hammer for, no Moon Pearl, unfortunately, These are all reasons that we don't want her to have rupees if you want to delay her, or if you want to give her rupees to give her an advantage, she'll need them. She should be running out. Oh, I guess, interesting. So while the Zora rupees were counting down, those didn't count against her unless a bunch of people just gave her rupees.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was a storm of rupees coming and going.
Yeah, hey, definitely Maple Kingdom showing out loud and proud for making sure that Sakura has some rupees to work with. DT, in the meantime, heading up to the mountain, ends up getting a fire rod as well, I believe, off of the old man.
Yeah, he did find that. I'm not sure what he can do with it just yet.
We'll take an opportunity to get a hint as well. We did not see what was inside Spectacle Rock, so certainly, in the name of DT, he wants it. Oh.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say, oh, Sakura's in this race. Ooh, the Moon Pearl.
Well, in the name of DT, deciding to take that hint very seriously, using a bomb to try to get to an item quicker, even though what we found out was that some unique item requires one.
He'll have one left over, right? Right?
Has 5 now, remains to be seen. We'll definitely need at least one on the right side of the mountain, so if you're looking to delay him, this is an opportunity. There are no other readily available bombs. Shoutouts to Sakura Tsubasa, though, playing the song of our people.
I think someone must have taken her duck away. Again. I'm a little worried for DT here. He is down to half a heart while he's doing Paradox Cave.
It's a dangerous place to be. There are Moldorms up ahead, and Ice Physics would be devastating, potentially. He does have a hook
there's
shot.
Also 2 hearts here.
Yeah, so he does have a good chance of emerging unscathed. But the mountain has its dangers, and you can contribute to that.
Oh, look at that. Sakura's lost her flute. Again, already.
You know, I don't condone recklessly calling duck protective services, but it appears that somebody wants to take that duck away.
And DT goes through all of Paradox Cave, only getting money for his trouble. He might head back to the Zora area now that he's got this. Do remember, folks, if you are watching these runners and you want to time some effect on them, really specifically, load up the runner streams individually, where there will be less of that Twitch delay going on, so you can snipe them just in time.
It would also appear that on the floating island we got $5 more. In the name of DT, did pick up a Master Sword, or at least has been given one sword upgrade. So both of our runners have the ability, if they find a book in this scenario, to check that tablet. It would be no, they actually can't get over there just yet, or at least Sakura can.
Sakura can, yeah. Oh, I love this reaction cam. We can see her saying ooh.
And a fetch quest in the Spiral Cave, so not fun to do without the boots, but definitely something we can do. Unfortunately for DT, oh, he has the duck. Wow, that's a straight up death here on Death Mountain, being killed by chat. Sakura having to burn through a fairy. Somebody's got it out for her.
I am very, very pleased that someone sent a bee in straight after that to fill up that bottle slot.
Yeah, even if we had the bug net, we would not be able to replace that fairy in that scenario. So keep in mind, those bees are highly valuable. And come to think of it, they're at a bargain too.
Oh yeah, she does have that bug net. I think someone dropped it in her inventory already.
It would appear she has released the bee, hoping to replace it with something with a little more wings. Certainly a lot more capability of lifting our spirits and lifting us off the floor in case of untimely death by chat. In the name of DT, unchallenged, getting his Zora item.
I would feel worse about that, except it's only 10 arrows, so joke's on him.
Do you think maybe he knew that it was coming, that there was something not that important, since he had no challenges up to it?
You know, now that you mention it, I do kind of wonder if he's getting into the metagame, the head games, with all that.
That's okay. In a crowd control race, everything comes down to where we are at GT at the end of the race. All of the advantages we can give them in the meantime are definitely going to be helpful. You can give them a bit of a spread or maybe a lead, but we can see anything turn around in that dungeon. So do your best to pad out the lead or deficit for your favorite runner in this race. They're going to need it if they want to win this one.
Saku has entered Oko mode, and we see her pausing here. And then she realizes, no, hang on, I can't bomb jump. And rather than wait out the clock, she's going to do the loop around. I was so excited for her to accidentally drop a bomb there.
You know, though, for the amount of time that it costs, certainly a great way to delay Sakura, regardless of whether there's a death. Definitely a creative use of that timer.
And you know, sometimes you just hop over a ledge into the path of the dead rock. Oko mode can be just terrible on Death Mountain.
We had a question in chat regarding giving and taking heart containers. Yes, those are permanent. Those don't have a timer. Of course, they can be taken away or given again, though. If you are tuning in a little bit late to the race, you can, of course, use the Twitch extension Crowd Control to interact with this race. There is a free set of coins that you can use to redeem on effects. And, of course, you can exchange for more coins if you'd like. To either exchange for the entire effect itself or even crowdfund towards it. If you and several other chatters want to summon a Cuckoo Storm like we have on Sakura Tsubasa's screen, you can chip away at it instead of trying to do the whole thing at once. Good
Look
way
at
to get
that
people
escape.
to get involved. Something tells me Sakura would be good at dodgeball.
I do see people in chat asking what DT's timer is. It is the Mr. Saturn font. And my only question about it is, how many bits do I have to exchange for coins to swap his font to something readable?
In a perfect world, we would have the option to create this font for the runners, in my opinion. But, you know, I mean, everybody's got a different take on it. In the name of DT, wants you to work hard for your perception of his time.
DT and I have a long-standing feud about his font, so please understand that when I make fun of it, it's only because I hate it with every fiber of my being.
You know, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. You're at least telling us the truth about how you feel. DT is going through some of the darker parts of Eastern Palace, having a pretty breezy time through here. Sakura's on her way over this direction, so we have a bit of an advantage for him. And on top of that, we've inverted her controls, which is very difficult to deal with.
I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm sure. This is what the reaction cam is so great for. You can see her mind or her face just shift to focus mode of, okay, how do I make this work? How do I switch my brain to understand even something as simple as moving through this room?
I haven't settled my mind on whether or not it makes sense to just like hold your controller upside down for that minute.
But if I understand right, it only inverts the D-pad with itself and the face buttons with themselves. So if you spin your controller, your buttons are still in the wrong places.
I guess without boots, I'd probably do that, but if I had boots, I wouldn't. Either way, very difficult to deal with. And that is definitely a time cost for Sakura, as in the name of DT's already picked up everything he can from Eastern Palace without having that bow.
Yeah, we are getting bottlenecked here. no gloves, which means no way of getting into the Dark World. I'm hoping DT comes up with something here. Or we might see him have to climb Mega Tower.
Did you say
suppose Hera's
bottlenecked
still
or
open.
did you mean beetle-necked? Well, actually, I don't think any of them have a free bottle to begin with anyway.
I know Sakura just got a fairy sent to one of her bottles, so that's not open anymore to get bead.
And apparently some hearts were taken away as well. We're down to 3 again.
Three hearts is plenty for getting through the game as long as you don't get hit, and as long as you're not in Oko mode.
I may have spoken too soon. A less frequently known heart refill underneath that chest. Sakura is showing some excellent game knowledge.
You know, I'm constantly surprised that that one is there. Sakura is one of the only runners I've seen use it. Mainly, she has to know about it for crowd control, where she finds herself on low hearts in Eastern Palace all the time.
Alright, ball and chain guard coming up. This is a difficult fight if you have effects applied. Any of them will probably be helpful if you're looking to slow down our runners. Of course, ice physics I think is my favorite, but fire rod is going to dispatch with them a little quicker than we would have without it.
I like DT's approach to that. Just fire rod the guard. Don't spend any more time in that dangerous room than you need to. But I think he just skipped the back of escape. Maybe he's headed back there now. Sakura taking the death in Eastern Palace and headed out of there now with the save and quit. I love this hesitation, this, oh gosh, where do I go? What's the best approach?
What is going to get me killed the least? Although you raised a great point, though. There's really not much we can do at this point. It's getting pretty narrow.
Or back into Eastern Palace? Okay, sure, she's back in Eastern Palace. I'll take it.
Now, I don't believe... Did she actually get the big key item?
I don't think so. I think only DT made it that far.
Yeah, so with the fairies that she has in the inventory, definitely possible. I like that she hookshotted that heart. That can potentially a 1 in 4 chance give you a double heal, so definitely, as you mentioned before, being frugal with how we approach health in this race.
Oh, good use of the boomerang there by DT to pick up that small key. Unfortunately, he made it to the back of escape with bombs. I can't believe we let that happen. Should be on the lookout for that in the future.
On the bright side...
Yeah, nothing good back there. I guess it's up to Hera for these runners.
Yeah, it appears that DT does have the use of his flute available to him, or does he? I'm gonna head towards the castle.
I think he might be skipping Hera entirely and opting to just climb Aghanim's tower. That might be a red herring for him.
Yeah, it's interesting because I believe the second sword upgrade was given, unless you remember seeing it elsewhere.
Oh gosh, with all the swords flying all over, I'm not totally sure.
Now, of course, this can be good. We do have the hammer to go east with it. So we do have the potential of this being the logical progression anyway. If not, then as you mentioned, it could be a red herring. We could end up chasing after something that we don't have, and we definitely need first.
And our wonderful tracker Clifford's reminding me that Eastern had a sword in a chest. It just didn't look like it because these runners had been gifted swords.
Ah, okay, and then we had the other one in the dam. We've also had it mentioned that there is a mushroom we haven't turned in either. Remains to be
right.
seen if someone's looking for Kana Samaria first to do a fake powder, or if we're just going to turn that in later.
And Sakura might be headed to Aghanim's tower as well, but getting a Kuko Storm on the path there, even if it doesn't kill her, it is legging her like crazy.
Definitely a smart choice to use that with one-hit KO. Even if it doesn't end up killing her, though, she still has to be much more conservative walking around, and with extra enemies in the path, that is lethal.
It's just a short path outside. Nothing can go wrong, right?
You know, you'd think so, but Aghanim's tower, the castle tower, is a dangerous place.
Oh, look at that! She just about got in, and then the swarm kicked in. Nice work staying out of the way of that.
Yeah, you had to be careful lest you incur the wrath of the chickens, and Sakura, no stranger, definitely knew how to navigate that scenario. But that's not necessarily the last one we'll see. I have faith in Chad. Oof! Getting bodied by the prize pack guards. Still has a fairy to work with, I believe.
Still has a fairy, and that Oko spell is over, so she'll be fine for the time being.
In the meantime, DT all the way to Aghanim are ready. Now, this is a very punishing place to apply effects, particularly one-hit KOs, because those blue ball attacks are very hard to dodge, or even ice physics will make this a much longer fight. It would also appear that Sakura did manage to pick up another fairy, so we may need to kill twice if we're looking to do that. We may look to potentially try to delay instead. That's up to you, chat, though. You can pick your poison if you'd like. Altogether, a pretty friendly Aghanim fight for DT so far. I believe I've seen one blue ball.
Yeah, nothing too bad at all here. Well, okay, we're getting more.
Is it just me, or did Sakura have an extra bat on screen there?
Could be, I wasn't sure.
Perhaps some residual cuckoos were telling their bat friends that they needed to follow her through the dungeon to make sure that she wasn't just going up there unchecked.
Alright, with only 4 hearts, DT has entered the Dark World. Oko spells, you know, I'm not sure we need them at the moment, given that most enemies can just take you out in a couple hits right now. Okay, he's going back for the pyramid item.
We did get to see a map check as well. We have Turtle Rock and Palace of Darkness being pendants, so useful to know that, and that potentially makes the Ice Rod irrelevant. We'll see if there's anything on Trinex today.
Yeah, if
Or
you
maybe
look
we
over
won't.
at Sakura's screen on the right-hand side, you'll see she's pulled out the bug net. And I'll bring this up again near the end of the race, but she is, we're fond of saying, the runner I know who's better with bug net in this fight than with sword. She is so consistent. She does it every time she has the bug net available. It is one of her trademarks, and hey, it's working.
Something tells me she probably uses the fishing pole in Twilight Princess. Although, honestly,
yeah,
who doesn't, though? It's fun.
She does.
I believe we have an ice physics effect in the name of DT screen. Very annoying in this scenario. As you mentioned, everything is very lethal.
He's doing well using his hookshot to move around and circumvent what he can, but I'm hoping these murder dactyls just come in on him.
Wise choice to go west.
He didn't even aggro them. Nicely done.
Heading towards Skull Woods, which is a pretty dangerous place to be in those circumstances. I don't envy anybody trying to deal with Gibdos in here.
And Sakura doesn't even get off the pyramid before she is inundated with Dark World chickens.
Shield chickens?
Sure.
Fire shield chickens and fighter shield chickens. These are some strange chickens.
You know, we already like to joke that shields are just good for causing lag. They are really good for causing lag in crowd control.
Well, it's not too often you get to see a flock of arms. In the name of DT, kicking up dust, though, has boots rewarded for going to Skull Woods under these circumstances. It seems Sakura may have the same thing in mind, heading up the river using the flippers, which is a nice use of knowledge. A lot of people forget that you can do that.
I think she might have forgot that she's got a hammer. And she did the walk around instead. Or swim around instead, I should say.
Get to see a nice fancy key dash from In the Name of DT. As mentioned before, lots of things can go wrong, and we have added wall masters to the mix. So anything that's going to slow him down through these rooms will probably result in that, picking him up as well.
Sakura's also headed through the Dark World, down to only 1 heart, but it looks like she's going to Thieves Town, not to Skull Woods.
Yeah, that presents a clear and obvious speed advantage for In the Name of DT, provided, of course, he can finish this boss fight with no major episodes. 2 hits max that he can take from this. Or he can't take the second hit, after all. He can only take 1 hit.
Sitting here watching, I'm hoping someone primed an effect for him, but I'm not sure there's anything's going to come through. Oh! And the spikes and the moth combine to just get him on that floor. Good thing he's got a fairy.
Even then, no magic to work with, only Master Sword. He does pull it off.
Well fought. Well fought on his part.
I believe that is our first crystal of the race.
That's right. Now, Sakura did find something useful in the Village of Outcasts. She got her first glove, which means getting back to here is going to be not so bad for her. DT's still going to have some trouble with it. Before he gets that glove, he's going to have to walk all around the world.
I'm sure in the earlier rooms he wishes statues would just crumble for him, but no Canis Samaria. Not able to complete the song pun. No mirror either, so this maze is kind of annoying. We're going to burn a fairy for Sakura, though, and In the Name of DT, having already expended his, wisely choosing to take the Death Warp. So, Thieves Town. I'm trying to think what the most heinous thing we could do to delay a runner in this dungeon would be, or to assist a runner in this dungeon. We do already have the Cane of Burna.
So, ice physics on the blind fight is pretty nasty. 1-hit KO mode for most of the second half of the dungeon is pretty bad, especially with things like those Patrick Stars that move so randomly. Straight up, just killing the runner as they walk through also works.
Certainly on the table, and we have used that option. So I guess that means we have no fairies, meaning this might be a good time for a bee. In fact, the best possible time. I see in chat we have an attempt to pool funds for a ice physics effect. I am certainly going to throw my free coins at that.
There's also a small fund starting towards the kill player on DT, which may not trigger before he gets those gloves. Actually, he's got them now, so he's out of the woods on that front. Oh yeah, anything that sends the runners back to the start of the dungeon in Thieves Town just makes this dungeon a huge ordeal to get through. It's so much back and forth, back and forth.
As well, if you can manage to get a death to happen on blind properly, then the low health and sword beams will be necessary. It'd be necessary to have the sword beams for them to do the refight, because it'd be very difficult to do it otherwise. So someone making a point in chat about how bees are good against the blind. The good bees are. The regular ones, probably not as useful.
And she has made her way through the attic safely. I say that, and then a grasshopper gets her right away as DT takes a fall in the back half of the dungeon without a fairy.
That's tough, and some of the extra time that he had picked up from those boots negated a bit. Looks like that crowdfund you're talking about potentially becoming even more relevant as the next couple of dungeons unfold, as we have started on that. Chat being ruthless to Sakura in this dungeon, unfortunately for her.
Yeah, she did. She got the ceiling open, but she's still got to walk through this whole thing again without boots.
Yeah, and of course, you would have to deal with the crystal switch as well, which is an easy thing to forget if you have to go back through. Question in chat about how crowdfunding works. You can use the pool button when you have the crowd control extension open if you wanted to chip a certain portion of the total of the coins in. Otherwise, order would give the entire effect, so you'd be redeeming the coins for the entire amount.
Yeah, pool is great for 15 of us getting together with 100 coins each to send a kill player instead of someone needing 1,500 all at once, which you can still do. Either one's an option.
And certainly we've been doing.
DT killing the grasshopper, getting a fairy to bail him out on the top of Thieves Town. He was down to 1 heart. Hellway was really giving him heck.
Yeah, unfortunately not getting a God Pixel dash, and even if RNG doesn't always permit, Sakura with a less commonly seen diagonal boomerang for that switch, which is really nice looking. Well, that is also bombos for both of our runners, so there is potential once they find that Titan's Mitts to do Ice Palace. They would have most of what they need for that, so that may be in the back of their minds, but they will need that glove upgrade in order to do so.
5 heart Ice Palace. Easy when you have Golden Sword.
With the power of the crowd behind you, you may potentially have the worst or best time. No way to tell between the two. It seems that Chad has picked up that the fairy is the actual stun prize, so a little bit of leeway for our runners. Thankfully, they'll have a couple of last-second options, but it's not always easy to do that. Stunning an enemy and getting the drop when you have ice physics, not very friendly.
Carcat, how many bits, or how many coins do I need to switch the stun prize in this game?
Oof. Sakura getting killed by the crowd. Looks like that was a crowd-funded death. And we'll have to use the fairy. Unfortunately, we did not manage to get all of the fairies gone before the boss was turned in, so she will be able to do the fight.
I think she does know the script for this blind fight, so she's probably going to make it through okay, despite crowd's best efforts. Nice fight right there. DT going through it as well. Getting hit once by a fireball, but getting down to 1 heart, but finishing it off.
Well, we have simultaneous crystal grabs, or not grabs, but crystal cutscenes. That's definitely a close margin between the two. Of course, DT does have the advantage of Skull Woods, which Sakura Sabasa is leaving behind.
Sakura! No, Sakura. The boots are up there.
How many flavors of chicken are we going to taste today? I have seen another Cuckoo Storm summoned, but they are not showing. There we are.
Oh, there we are. There we are. And it's the skeleton chickens native to the Dark World. I love this. Dig Game is an amazing time to have this happen. She does not want to stand in place long enough to get hit. Although, are they just passing through her?
During the dig animation itself, you are safe, I believe. So, or maybe that's a feature of this particular screen, as some of the actual challenges of coding all this stuff, I have to imagine, were absolutely insane. Of course, keep in mind that we base all of this on the 1.0 version of the original base game, and there's pretty much the randomizer stuff as a base for that. I don't think she actually got the item.
I think she did. I think it was just 5 rupees on the ground there. It was
okay,
just
good.
a lot of digs to get it.
Yeah, so a big shout outs to the folks behind the scenes in programming this. This must have been a lot of challenges to do, and it's amazing what we got in result for it. Hey, and look at that, we got a glove.
If you had told me 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, that we'd be watching people play this game and using the internet to mess with them as they do it, I would have said you were crazy.
I still think it's crazy. Well, Titan's Mitts gives us a number of things that we can do, but both runners, seeing that they can continue their path without using a portal twice, will head towards Swamp Palace, it appears.
Okay, Ice Palace hint, or rather King of Samaria hint saying it's an Ice Palace. That'll come in really handy for DT. Sakura, unfortunately, walking straight by that hint. Is not going to have that knowledge for a while.
Yeah, I neglected to notice that we didn't have the mirror, so we can't do Swamp, but yeah, I mean, that's the most valuable way you can get that hint. I get myself, but that paid off.
I mean, maybe we'll get it here? No, just an ice rod in Hype Cave.
Given the pendant status of Turtle Rock, yikes, this is a tripe cave? I don't know what name I'd give this cave today. Definitely not the Cave of Cuckoos. Can't have them in that cave. Although not without crowd attempting anyway. We have seen so many chickens, you would think we were running like a KFC or something.
Now I'm hungry, thanks.
It appears Chad is hungry for death, as we've seen numerous already. But, you know, there's plenty of race ahead of us. We're already seeing the conspiracies about Trinex having an item. Of course, we will have to end up in, I think you said, Ice Palace, right?
With the King of Samaria, yeah.
Although that is now on the table with the Titan's Mitts.
Titan's Mitts. Heck, we have Bombos, which makes doing certain parts, including the boss fight, slightly more palatable. And DT back in Kakariko Village for the nth time since someone took his flute away again.
I like that you said the nth time because I can honestly not recall if it's 4 or 5 at this point, but I admire the perseverance and determination of chat. We are not going to let these runners have easy, fast access to the world. We must make them walk as much as possible. And that actually takes away some of the edge that DT has from those boots. Though Sakura's running low on health here. DT unfortunately making the critical mistake of showing the chat that he has 2 potions in his bottles. Now we have that information. I don't know if that was wise.
Did he trade in his mushroom? I'm guessing not. Oh, he's probably saving it for fake powder.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
now that he knows where the
Alright.
Samaria is.
And looks like Sakura's going to get away with not doing the basement in Tower of Hera. she's also not going to be able to flute away from this dungeon when she finishes it.
Judging by the webcam, I believe she saw that effect take place, so she is aware. I think she'll be constantly checking that. If I were racing, I definitely would be. Taking the safety switch, probably a smart decision.
In these circumstances, yeah. Especially if something like ice physics ends up landing on her while she's doing the Moldorm fight, she might fall off and want those extra hearts.
Yeah, tough to mess with the bomb jump, but you still have time to make the boss fight an absolute nightmare. Your timing would be coming up pretty soon, I would think. DT, no stranger to avoiding Moldorm where possible. We'll check all of Dark Death Mountain that he can. Hookshot Cave to start with. Now, we know he doesn't have a fairy, so if we were to make a death happen here, that's a long climb back up.
Surely he's about to save and quit out of here, right? He's covered what he can. Oh no,
Ooh.
Sakura takes the fall to Moldorm, and Crowd with the input swapping is going to make this refight a lot harder on her.
It's already severely RNG. The length of the path that Moldorm takes and the amount he rotates, and the pattern's at least consistent, but if you got to invert all this, even with Buttersword, this is a struggle of a fight.
Oh, and I stand corrected. DT did find the mirror. And was unable to flute away before Crowd got him there. Nice work.
Crowd has spoken. We will not get that easy flute. We'll take the shovel to check that item as well. Maybe the mushroom afterwards. But Sakura has managed to vanquish the Moldorm in spite of the inversion. Definitely took a lot longer to do though. She looks excited.
And Sakura, of course, now going back into Tower of Hera as she has to clear out that basement for one additional item. Someone's sending her a heart container. She is now up to 8 hearts. It's very generous.
Holy moly, trying to hedge her bets against the inevitable damage we're expecting in this room. Now that she actually has managed to stand on the pegs, will not be able to do much besides an outright kill, although I think she does have a fairy. I haven't seen her menu in a minute. Although it would be absolutely awful to have to do this tower room twice, don't you agree?
That would be terrible. You know what else is terrible? DT just getting hit when he's trying to get into the mire area. Or back into the mire area after doing checkerboard.
Yeah, the relentless chat has taken away all of his heart containers, down to 3.
And given 10 to Sakura now? What is going on? You are mean people. Mean to DT, that is.
Oof. Not allowed to flute at all.
No, he's allowed to flute. He just, you know,
And
gets killed
down
when the
goes
flute's picking him
Sakura.
up.
Oh, she did not have a fairy. I don't think she got that item.
I don't think she did, but I'm kind of lost right now because all I'm seeing is just red screens for both runners at this point.
A sea of
I love
blood.
it. You're terrible people. I hope you all know that. Thank you.
Chad, you came bloodthirsty and you did not disappoint. DT, I'm pretty sure, is pretty frustrated.
Oh no!
Oh, baby, a triple.
I think I'm starting to think that rock in the desert is trapped. You just pick it up and instead of a dark world portal, you just find death.
I didn't realize we had landmines in this game. In the Name of DT has successfully mineswept all of them, I think. Remains to be seen. And has his flute deactivated for his trouble.
Oh! And then killed in Mire Shed before he can get an item. So the path for him is now reactivate that flute just so you can get back to Mire area.
In the World of Unreal tournament, I think that's an ultra kill. You know, you could go for the monster kill if you're really feeling it.
I'm just pleased to see that someone out there is as hurt by DT's timer as I am.
The crowd has spoken. Certainly giving the implication that this is definitely not liked. A Cuckoo Storm to follow.
And I think he's giving up on the Mire area and the lack of flute right now and just headed into Ice Palace.
Sometimes you just gotta pick your poison. And taking shelter from the birds is probably wise too.
And down in Super, Bunny Sakura's picked up her mirror, which will come in handy. Still missing those boots though, and oh, I know why DT's come here. He's hoping to get his Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, ordinarily I wouldn't put this much routing into trying to get that fake powder set up. That being said, you know, you can't take that cane away from him, so I can see why his head's in this space. You know, I mean, that's one thing they, unless he gets killed a million times on his way there, which we're hoping, you know, to see, because that's funny.
Oh no.
Or Pen Gators get him. But yeah, so that's a guaranteed check for him.
That's just a hard room to do when you're only on Master Sword with 3 hearts. This is one of those dungeons where the enemies just hit hard.
I don't recall the last time I saw a 3-heart Ice Palace, maybe during the GDQ like one-hit KO run? This is an absolutely vicious cycle we're seeing here. Crowd really loving their chicken today.
I like what Sakura did there. Just chop down the bushes, get the ferry, so you can head into Spike Cave on full health. And Spike Cave is mean, but at least you can't have Cuckoos inside it.
Yeah, it's true. The 4 cardinal direction bushes are actually a very high likelihood of spawning fairies or hearts, unfortunately.
Oh, and look at that. Sakura just out of health. Doesn't make it through Spike Cave to that item.
Just want to point it out for Chad, you know, that this is just a interactive race that we're doing for fun, of course. Both of these runners are having a blast with this, I'm sure. I mean, you can see, obviously, Sakura's reactions. This is pretty funny. So don't take it too much to heart, these effects. We're just trying to find the most maximally enjoyable way to delay their path through here and make it fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, and I'm enjoying this so far with what people are getting up to.
The creativity of Chad has absolutely blown me away, and we're not even a full hour into this.
Oh, and look at this. DT, out of bombs in the Stalfos room in Ice Palace, has defaulted to the backup strat of using the boomerang to take it out, which requires too many hits, but does actually kill the monster.
To be honest with you, I did not realize it was vulnerable to boomerang, so we all learned something today.
It's something he and I have had to do before in other races, but of course it won't help when a kill just comes in the middle of that room. Which is too bad, because someone gave him bombs.
Yeah, the timing, absolutely impeccable. If you were looking to try to mess with a runner's head, giving them something they need immediately after they can't use it, probably the best mental strategy in my opinion. Although I definitely admire the perseverance of both of these runners. They have gone for like 5 or 6 attempts at each of these routing decisions, and only giving up when they know the chat has just said no. Oh, geez, DT.
Well, are we gonna let Sakura get her boots here? She is walking through Skull Woods, headed in that direction.
These weak heart containers are empty. There is crowd control hoping to not give her a mail upgrade sweater already, so no, we could end it.
I am actually a little surprised no one's given armor upgrades yet. That's on the menu, right?
It is. I was afraid to mention it because we were having so much fun with low hearts. But if you're looking to help either of these runners, give them an edge. I mean, I know DT would definitely appreciate it. But it is fun to watch a 3-heart Ice Palace, so
I mean,
I'm
mail
impartial.
upgrades are great. They give the runners resistance, they make it easier for them to play the game, and they don't prevent Oko mode.
That's a fantastic point to remember.
Oh, Sakura. Oh, no! Sakura takes the death in the overworld outside Skull Woods, sending her back to the pyramid and away from those boots.
The absolute worst possible overworld death that I can think of, at least in this scenario. And I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a flute, right?
I mean, she's got one. I guess it does seem to be working, which colored me surprised. I didn't think would happen. And we see DT back in the Stalfos room, back on those boomerang strats.
You know, maybe he's just practicing for when we potentially take the arrows away later for Armos. I mean, no one would ever do that.
I had forgotten, but boomerang does actually work on the Armos Knights, and better than Master Sword, maybe even.
I believe Sakura has given up on Skull Woods for now.
Oh no. Oh no. I mean, maybe we don't need those boots, but we certainly do want them. And I want to shout out the crowd who gave DT that extra heart, letting him be at 4 now. It's not enough when the conveyor moves you onto a spike, but it is enough to let him maybe take another run at this dungeon. Or, check your map. I think its controls must be shuffled.
Yes, actually, that is in fact one of the things that can happen. You can invert both the D-pad and the face buttons separately or together, I believe.
Or DT just doesn't know his way around Ice Palace and needed to check his map. I'm gonna go with the controls shuffling.
I like the credibility that we're giving him. I mean, of course, he was attempting that on 3 and then 4 hearts, somebody ruthlessly having taken away his 4th heart already.
I'm enjoying watching Saku run around with the hammer and ice physics trying to get the hammer pegs. The only thing worse than doing them bootless is doing them bootless ice physics.
If it wasn't enough, we have to subject the dwarf as well, or I guess the frog friend, to the ice physics at the same time. A fun fact about that, he'll dash as fast as you go, and even if you hookshot, he'll follow you through it. Interesting thing about followers in this game.
He's incredibly adept at movement, especially when the crowd's messing with him.
But I guess it was just a hop, skip, and a jump for that frog to get back to his home. Thankfully, through that portal, we have received 20 rupees. A hefty reward, since we would normally in the vanilla game spend 10 to get a sword upgrade. 200% value.
Saku, that's not the best way to farm money. Surely just asking chat for money would do better. Although with 600, I don't know that you'd need any more at this point.
I don't think we've made it into Palace of Darkness, so if you are looking to rob our runners of rupees, that's probably the last best way to do so. They could end up trying to buy a potion later, but I think that they're mostly hoping for fairies from here on out. Looks like somebody gifted a sword.
That'll come in handy for DT. Tempered makes all the difference in this dungeon. It also looks like someone took away that heart container he was up. But at least we're refilling his hearts.
Yeah, showing a little bit of mercy. I'm glad to see the chat does have at least a heart or two to spare. Or at least showing they had one in the first place.
We do get to see DT actually use bomb strats in this Stalfos fight for once.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did he buy bombs on the way in?
You know, he might have. That would be the only way I can see in this climate that he got all the way up to 10.
There is, of course, one bomb check that Sakura is about to make here in Swamp Palace. You do have a chance to prevent her from doing that if you'd like. You would need to be putting that in right about now, though. Otherwise, Swamp Palace, a fantastic place to use one-hit KO mode. I would probably do it judiciously to avoid some of the easier rooms, not necessarily triggering the effect if you're hoping to get value out of it. But there are a lot of enemies in here, and it's a very dangerous place. Most people take some kind of chip damage.
Yeah, the danger of Swamp Palace isn't one enemy doing 4 hearts in a hit. It's 10 enemies doing half a heart each. Oh, and DT taking another death directly from chat again. Wow. This is vicious. I'm almost at the point where I feel bad for him. But I guess I'm not there yet.
Almost. That's the key thing, is we want to get right up to 99.9% and then, wait till the very end to push it all the way over, but I think it's going to take a lot to get there. I think both of these runners are still showing enough determination, and we need to beat that out of them. Gotta admire Sakura Tsubasa not having lost or gone underneath 10 hearts for quite a while now.
I just admire DT's determination. He is back in Ice Palace for the... I really should start counting these things at the start of a crowd control race. But the too many at a time.
Yeah, we've certainly exceeded 5 at this point, and his patience for Stalfos Knights as well. Commendable. Who'd have known that Boomerang would be such an essential item this seed? Nevertheless, making it to the firebar room, not going to do the bomb jump. I think it's probably for safety reasons.
I think it's partly for safety. I think it's also because he knows in this dungeon he's going to find Kena Samaria, which means as long as it's not on Cold Stare, he can avoid doing that weird up and around puzzle.
That would be the absolute worst, wouldn't it? Although I think he could have inferred based on the first couple of chests, depending on whether or not there is a big key in a certain place, whether or not the logic expects him to find it on Cold Stare.
Ice Palace key I don't know.
It's a complicated mess.
Oh, we learned that there's a sword hiding in the left side of Swamp Palace for DT.
Not a whole lot less, or not a whole lot else besides that, so Sakura would definitely want to be skipping it. Probably will not.
Looks like she's on a mission to get that. We'll see one of those nice green rupees with a 20 written on it. She's also having trouble finding doorways. I'm hoping that's just because her controls are messed up.
Yeah, I'm not sure at this point, for all of the Saku Evil emotes that I'm seeing in chat, whether or not this is DT's fans doing this, or if Sakura's fans really like to see her suffer.
I think it's mostly Saku's fans. DT's fans, I think, don't have that mean streak towards Sakura. Just towards DT. Nice. I love that. The control inversion goes away and Sakura walks back through the doorway because, of course, you're used to having the buttons placed that way.
Did chat just kill DT right before the big key chest?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, right? Because that chest is like the 5th room in the dungeon. You can just go straight back to that room.
Yeah.
Though I guess you can't get the chest without doing the big loop around.
Oh my goodness. Although, I mean, I'm sure DT's loving this. I mean, he would have given up on this dungeon by now if he didn't think this was absolutely hysterical. At this point, I'd be like, bracing, waiting for when that next kill is going to happen.
I mean, I'm doing that already, just sitting in my own seat, let alone his position.
So far, so good for Sakura, though, having completed the left side, going to head towards Argus, pretty much unperturbed at this point, having received at least a few heart refills from the crowd.
Oh no, DT actually takes a death to the Stalfos Knights, and that one, I actually can't blame on chat. That one was just a misplay from him.
It's bound to happen eventually. Having done the dungeon so many times in a row, you think that would actually improve your chances, but me personally, I'd be kind of losing it by then. Oh, and he does not have an activated flute.
Oh no. Where's he? Oh, he's going over to Ice Rod Cave. No, even better. He's going to use this Zora portal to get back to the village quickly. I like this.
That's a great routing decision. As you mentioned before, this does take us north of the castle, so that's very close. A Cuckoo Storm over the water. Chat seeming to like scenic views and fine poultry.
What makes for a more relaxing view of a castle than just having a giant storm of chickens flying all around you? A lot, actually.
Maybe if they're made of shields instead. I'm not sure which sprite that I've seen for the chickens today I like the most. But we actually do get some real chickens now. It would almost seem as if chat's doing a Cuckoo Storm for every single activation of the flute. I think I've seen one for the last 5 consecutive. Perhaps there's a hidden meaning behind this that we have not seen play out in the chat itself. Mystery Chatter, I honor you for paying homage to the bird kind.
Well, I was gonna come up with a Half-Life 3 conspiracy about DT's heart containers, but someone's given him 4, so I'm not sure we can confirm that anymore.
On the list of confirmations, though, Desert Palace, now that we've successfully entered, we don't gotta worry so much about that flute. Although I think somebody has mentioned it's been deactivated already.
Of course.
Sakura blazing through the Argus fight, this would be a very punishing place to take a death. Looks like she should be able to get through it unscathed. Unfortunately for In the Name of DT, not the case.
Good thing is, he got that Skull Woods hint. Bad thing is, it just told him where he could go find his boots. I like this this adaptation from him, though. He takes the death, he goes back to the entrance of Skull, or of Desert where he needed to be. And he just says, oh, okay, fine. I'll go beat the dungeon boss while I can.
Oh my goodness, was that a death before Crystal Grab?
No, that was a death after Crystal Grab, just a second too late. Although, did it count for her? Did she pick it up? She's back in the dungeon.
I know that she actually skipped the big chest, so that could be a reason she's back in here.
No, it did not stick for her. She has to go back through the dungeon. I just saw her menu.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, over on DT's side, he has that bug net, but he had to do some work to catch the fairy in it. Because, look at that bee someone gave him. It's hovering around saying, catch me, put me in a bottle.
Well, we're not going to be able to call pass interference on the DT fence, but we'll be able to pick up at least one of these directly. These BMO is giving him a lot of trouble. To answer the question in chat, Cuckoo Storm does not work in dungeons, only in the overworld.
Yeah, there's a little too much going on in a dungeon to make it technically feasible to put that there.
I am absolutely blown away by the accuracy of chat, though. Thankfully, remembering to deactivate Sakura's flute for after this dungeon, she may not have noticed that. But I mean, I'm almost starting to wonder if, they're in an inversion ending, whether or not they're using a super scope to make these accurate plays. Because I mean, I've just seen deaths after deaths at the exact right moments.
Deaths, control inversions, flute removals. Again, those bomb removals that we saw happen to DT and Ice Palace were just so well timed. You're on your game today, chat.
DT not going to be able to kill those Lamb Molus. Speaking of the accuracy of chat.
Oh, and that's a painful time to look at that magic meter. You know, he can get a bit more as he goes through the dungeon, but he won't have the full 8 shots for Lanmo. He'll have to improvise.
Looks like Sakura is trying to get rid of this bee during the fight to hope that... Oh no, she will just be picking up the crystal since she did kill the boss.
Small mercies. We'll take them. Alright, Lanmo, round 2 for DT.
Ready, fight.
Oh, it looks like he has Butter Sword, so it's only 2 slashes per snake. Or 2 Fire Rod hits. This is going nicely. He gets a magic refill. He gets that boss down. He will take a death before he gets the crystal.
Where's the love, Chad? Someone's got to finish a dungeon eventually.
This seems like plenty of love for DT. If we didn't like seeing him play the game so much, we wouldn't make him keep doing it.
Here is a fantastic point. We are getting more out of this because of that, so thank you, chat, for giving us the opportunity to see more of this race, and also for gifting Sakura Tsubasa 1 bomb, it looks like, to do the back of escape to get absolutely nothing. The mental troll I actually really appreciate. DT attempting to farm stun prizes, the bees interfering, unfortunately.
So it took me a while to clue into how DT was farming those stun prizes. His trick is to use the boomerang to stun the Popo, because hookshot will take the Popos out immediately. But it is definitely harder to do that when you're racing the bees to defeat the enemies.
Well, there was an attempt to get a one-hit KO spell in the name of DT for a potential boss refight, or even for the rooms leading up to it. Will not end up taking into effect in time. However, I would not want to go to Ice Palace if I were him either.
No, we'll see what he decides to do with this now. He is back in the overworld in Oko mode.
So, did anybody turn in the mushroom yet?
No.
Because I could definitely see the save and quit for that reason. Definitely not with... Oh, the Cuckoo Storm at the worst possible time.
Oof! Oko mode and Kuko's either do or don't mix, depending on your perspective.
I mean, I think it's canon that they are
burn a fairy
lethal
right
like
now.
that. Doing his best Michael Phelps impression, does survive the one-hit KO, will still get absolutely trucked on his way in. Unfortunately, Tonka style. Apparently some mercy, he has been given a fairy.
I am very impressed with the eye DT is keeping on his bottle contents, making sure, you know, he doesn't try to grab a fairy when he's got one, making sure he can grab a fairy. Just don't worry about that overworld too much. If we kill DT again right now, then okay.
We have a back and forth battle going between fairy contents or bottle contents and deaths. He
Yes.
will manage to get into the dungeon.
Just let him go into the dungeon, and we'll load things new, and this is fine. It's like a computer, you just turn it off and on again.
Yeah, original game definitely not intended to allow us to die in that particular window, but crowd control does afford us some unique scenarios that we would not normally see. In other news, though, Sakura Tsubasa does finally get the boots.
Yeah, she did, and I hope no one can lip read, because that definitely wasn't safe for work, what I saw.
We're going to assume that she was celebrating the truck of the Tonka variety, as I was just a moment ago.
But now she's got the boots, it looks like she might be headed back to Desert Palace with that. Oh, DT takes another red screen and another... This is just up and down, up and down.
This almost seems like a race to destroy DT's game file. Oh my goodness.
I'm impressed by the competition here. It's like two people just fighting to push him through and stop him and push him through and stop him.
Through your perseverance, chat, we may finish this dungeon today. Or
Oh,
not.
I don't think he got the ferry in time there. Well, that was the longest walk through 2 rooms of Ice Palace I've ever seen.
Starting to be concerned about the stamina of this chatter who has just issued a vendetta against in the name of DT. Like, if this were a 4X game, I would not be surprised if DT would refuse to establish communication with this particular individual.
No more open borders, no more trading.
Yeah, -1 commerce at this point.
No, -1 commerce comes if someone takes DT's rupees.
Yeah, that's true. And seeing as we've not entered Palace of Darkness and we're hovering right around that total, that may be something worth considering. There would not be a ton of opportunities to farm that didn't take extra time at this point.
Alright, DT's into the meat of Ice Palace here. Let's see how this goes. He's got bombs. He is playing it a little safe. And he is getting his controls scrambled, so he's going to look back at that map and study this dungeon.
Seeing a question in chat about heart containers, you cannot go below 3 total. That is the absolute minimum. Not without trying, it seems, for chat. Also attempting to kill him as well. Yeah, I'm seeing some murmurs of Bow and Turtle Rock, and honestly, that would not surprise me at this point. We've missed a few key items in Ice Palace, but Sakura's not got anything else to look for here in Desert, and we have really not that much left to look for.
Gosh, you're right. There are still items to find in this game. I've forgotten that there was more to this game than just red screens and fairies.
Chat, we have received an ultimatum in chat. If we stop sending the fairies, he'll stop killing DT. Is that a challenge? Or is that a threat? I don't know. Chat, you decide how you want to respond to that. Me personally, I would not give up so easily.
Oh, look at that. DT had to go back through the bomb jump room as the death and revive had messed up his position with the switch.
I'm kind of amazed that he's made it past Ice Palace bomb jump at this point. Or that room. I don't think he didn't do the bomb jump, did he?
No, he definitely didn't, and I think it's the right call on his part to just not mess around with trying to do any fancy stuff. I don't even know how you'd set up a bomb jump when you're up and down this much.
I'd be amazed if, I mean, at this point, it just seems like it's just best to go whatever you can do to get through here faster. I mean, he's taking an extra key door just to get over to these extra chests, hoping to get at least something. He does have a cane of Samaria that he knows is here.
Yeah, and remember, last time he made it this far in the dungeon, he did get all the way to the big key chest before he got kicked out of the dungeon. So, Cane of Samaria could be right around the corner here.
Also, just as a reminder to chat, since we're seeing some questions about it, there is a stream delay involved, and we are restreaming the race. So you may be looking to 30 to 45 seconds to make sure that you get your effects in for them to take place at the right time. Is that a bow I just saw?
That is a bow that we just saw mixed all the fairy and death. So Ice Palace between the bow and that eventual cane of Samaria is loaded today. And hang on, is that going to be go mode?
When we get the cane of Samaria, yes, I believe so. We already have Bombos for Misery Mire, and everything else is completable. Now, that being said, there is a war of attrition going on here, so when I say completable, quotations heavily implied. I am
Oh, well, look
absolutely
at this.
astonished at this war chest.
It looks like DT's now been kicked out of the dungeon and isn't being allowed past the first room. Oh my goodness. There is an
Oh my
option for
goodness.
him here to just take the bow he got and go and do Pod and Eastern. Or I suppose just Eastern for the crystal, which he knows is clearable. But there's also a certain determination, I think, on DT's part to just not give up. And I understand that in him. You're in Ice Palace, you've died this many times. It's a couple more deaths.
You know, not only is the determination to kill DT strong, the determination to continue to give him fairies is also up there. I think Chad has responded to the threat of death with even more, certainty that they have to keep him alive. So, your cries have not fallen on deaf ears. DT has listened to you, and he's going to keep doing Ice Palace until he can't anymore.
On the right side, Sakura's taken out Mothula.
This is all in good fun, though. I assure you, if we had a cam for DT, he would be laughing and you'd be seeing him smile. He's got a good sense of humor in general. And he would definitely have given up on Ice Palace by now if he didn't think this was hilarious.
Yes, I can actually picture the way he chuckles and throws his head back as this happens, especially when there's a fairy in that bottle.
Well, there may have been a little bit of mercy. I have not seen any attempts on his life yet. Sakura Tsubasa taking advantage of our momentary lapse of concentration, as you mentioned before, killing Mothula, has an opportunity to go to Ice Palace herself, will need to do so, but does not know about that Cane of Samaria yet.
She's beaten Swamp. Did she not check the hint tile when she was in there?
Being that she may be looking for the bow hint instead, or the bow location, so I think you might be right about that, but she may have skipped that hint. I don't recall if she checked it or not.
Yeah. Oh, and I looked away. DT did get the big chest open, but I guess it wasn't the Cane of Samaria. So if you remember back in the fall, DT did quite well in the Link to the Past randomizer tournament. Actually made it to the bracket stage, and his opponent threw several matches of expert enemizer at him, which is the kind of thing that practice really is coming in handy for DT here. We can see, now that he's not encumbered in the dungeon, he is just powering through it. Look at that hookshot clip through the firebar. He knows his way around this game.
Yeah, and having picked it up as Cane of Samaria, this is technically his go mode, so he is not taking any time to stop and smell the roses. Maybe for fear of death at this point, but definitely the fastest I've seen him go through Ice Palace myself.
And with Cane of Samaria, of course, he can just take out or drop the block on that floor and go straight into Cold Stare. And, just take a death that takes a few seconds to resolve as he's falling.
Yeah, the game does not expect to be able to, kill Link during a falling screen transition, so they've accounted for this. It takes a little bit longer to do. The game's coding not really friendly with it. But you know, all of these scenarios foreseen in the past. We'll see how long it takes for that to resolve, but that's a chance for Sakura Tsubasa to catch up a little bit of time. A very costly death for In the Name of DT.
Okay, looks like he has now spawned and he is able to Bombos Cold Stare, but he's off screen. Looks like he may be out now.
So if I had to guess, and I'm not like, you know, perfect when it comes to like the coding of the game, but it seems like he was basically at a higher point in the screen when he revived, and that's why he was stuck in the wall.
That's my hunch as well. It's the kind of thing where, you know, this game is actually very proficiently programmed, and somehow 28 years ago the developers did not anticipate people taking spontaneous network-induced deaths as they drop into boss fights. That's an oversight that I'm perfectly willing to grant the developers.
And our lethal friend in chat has pointed out this is why you do not give fairies to the runners. You know, I cannot argue with that logic. We have seen the results of it now. But, I mean, will you take that intimidation, chat? Will you simply back down now? That's up to you. But actually, if you gave him fairies now, I think it would actually be more time costly. You may want to wait, if you're going to do so, until he leaves the dungeon.
Yeah, these deaths in the wall take quite a long time for the game to figure out what's going on, sort itself out, and resolve. As Sakura's just trekking through this dungeon, we will see her pick up both cane and bow soon enough.
I almost kind of hope this happens to her, because this would remind me of the NMG tournament where we had dueling fake flippers soft locks. Alright, looks like DT has managed to escape the dungeon. Some slight sprite issues, but that should be resolved shortly. He's going to save and quit just to be safe.
Yeah, I think this is the right call on his part. Just get out of the dungeon. If that still doesn't work, reload the game, put yourself back in, get your sprite back, and take another stab at this.
In the meantime, Sakura getting through some of the icier parts of the dungeon. Not a good time for ice physics, of course, is in effect, but inversion, certainly a painful way to deal with these rooms. Has several to go through. A one-hit KO as well would be very dangerous. I don't know if she has fairies or not. It would appear we're going to try our luck in Swamp this time. This is also another long dungeon. Sakura's going to be entering Go mode, though, with that bow that she just left behind.
Yeah, and DT knows that left side Swamp is just going to hold trash for him, so this could be fairly quick for him to power through.
Did you see a question in chat about what crowd control is? You got the command there, but also if this is your first time seeing a crowd control race, the way that you interact with it is through the wrench symbol with a coin next to it, the extension that's on your actual video player. You open that up, you actually get some free coins that we do, like a promotional credit for it, to get you started. You can either exchange your bits for those coins to use on these effects for an entire effect, or you can pool with other chatters in the stream to together collectively get that effect activated. Make sure that you click on the correct icon to select who you want that effect to apply to. Tiny has done so for Sakura here, which is yet another death in Ice Palace. Looking like we're going to get some fair treatment in both directions. Maybe a threat that nobody should be giving her fairies. I can't tell at this point.
Crowd control. The only time you'll revive and die 8 times going through a dungeon. And then glitch the heck out at the boss.
Well, this has been absolutely brutal for In the Name of DT, but it is not over yet. Plenty of things can slow down Sakura at this point. Whether they're deaths or simply just challenging... Yeah, just deaths. Deaths will work.
you know, just send her back out of the dungeon. And it looks like, oh no, do we have another one of these fairy / kill wars going on Sakura's side now in Ice Palace? It's okay.
Starting to
DT's
look
a
like
couple
it.
dungeons behind. She's got a lead that sure he'd appreciate a catch up on.
Yeah, so Chad, there are plenty of opportunities to make these deaths very costly for Sakura. You could attempt another screen transition from falling through the floor, as we do have an opportunity coming up in the north room that she's going to be walking through. That floor would also be devastating. But honestly, at this point, every advantage you can give DT will give him a chance to catch up. He is quite a bit behind.
We are just feeding him heart containers now, bringing him close up to that monster number Sakura's running with. Not that he particularly needs them for this Argus fight, but it's always good to have the buffer.
I think this is the first time I've seen her at Sakura at 10 or less in a while, like at least half an hour.
Certainly, this is the first time DT's had even 5 hearts full in his game, let alone sitting up at a full 8 containers total.
It would appear that we've seen some mercy from our from the killing spree, I guess the serial killer that we have in chat, as they have taken and removed heart containers. Not entirely sure what the intent of that is. Maybe just sending the effective equivalent of a Morse code message in the hearts, trying to deter people from sending more fairies. I believe this person has a vendetta against all of fairy kind.
Morse code sent through crowd control has to be one of the least efficient forms of communication I've ever seen. But if there is a message in there, I'm very curious to see it.
If DT could read it, no matter what it would be, I'm sure he would respond, it was SOS.
Speaking of SOS, Sakura, she got into go mode and then saw she was in Oko mode in the Ice Palace bomb jump room, and she just nopes out of that dungeon. She says, I'm not going to deal with this. SOS, get me out of here.
Someone please help me, she's saying. She's trying not to lose her mind. So Eastern Palace it is. Palace of Darkness is a pendant today, so no reason to bring a portal over. We are in go mode, having some close calls with these Armos statues right outside of Eastern. And in spin speed state, having to actually stop on the stairs, trying to regain sword control. Cannot stun from there. We'll just have to kill.
Meanwhile, DT's reactivating his flute. I
This
have the
feels like
feeling I've
first
seen
time.
this before.
Are we sure this isn't the first time we've activated it? It really feels like we've been here before. And wow, have the tables turned with the heart container totals. Sakura down to, is that 8? 7. Chad, of course, not being forgetful, remembering to deactivate these flutes. Really appreciate that, as in the name of DT had to, of course, use one to get to Mire, and it's hard to snipe that and get any real value out of it. But certainly, we would not want to be able to flute after finishing the dungeon. I think personally, it's the best to do so when they're not going to notice it.
Yeah, sneak it right in there with a flood of other stuff, or hopefully when they're waiting in a crystal cutscene and take a few seconds to rest their eyes or take a drink of something, that's when they're not going to see it.
Well, DT at this point is hoping to find a big key in this first chest, as we can take a key from next door and get what we call a Godmire. That's the best case scenario. Man, am I glad that you can't get a Cuckoo Storm in here, because I think that would just be brutal. It'd be unfair. And a Godmire it is.
In fact, Mire is such challenging dungeon programming-wise. It's the only place in the game where ice physics don't work. We had to disable them because too many runners would just get their games messed up when they started sliding around in the basement. Sakura hits Oko mode, but takes out the Armless Knights, gets that crystal. These runners are, despite our best efforts, making it through the game.
Now, she will, of course, have to be very careful about what she does immediately following the dungeon, so this is definitely, a chance at a time loss for her. Ice Palace is where she would like to be going, but Misery Mire also just as dangerous. I think one hit KO is going to force her to wait this out. Oh, she does not have the flute anymore, as we did remember to deactivate it.
Yeah, that got taken away during Eastern. Why would you go back to Ice Palace anyways? I'm pretty sure it's unbeatable.
It hasn't been confirmed, but Chat has certainly attempted their best to make that the case. And one hit KO paying off. The Cuckoo Storm, absolute lethality. You do not want to mess with the chickens.
DT fortunately has that fairy as he's headed through the back of Misery Mire. I thought he was going to go stun one of the Buzz Blobs, or bots rather, I think they're called, for a fairy. But instead, we're just going to feed him more and kill him on a staircase.
Looks like Chat's making one final push to get him through this dungeon. Getting stuck in the staircase. Oh no. Of all the places.
I don't think he can even use his mirror here. Oh no. We're actually stuck. I do like his attempts to get out of here using like a Samaria block, a bomb to try anything he can do. Anything to dislodge. But when you're stuck in the stairs, you're stuck in the stairs.
Yeah, Samaria is your best hope to try to do some kind of juke, but he does actually get a chance to use a mirror, so he at least gets that. Not having to save and quit, and I think at this point probably reactivate a flute. Showing off a little bit of knowledge about how the game works, though, trying to position himself in a way that allows him to use that mirror.
And Sakura's going to join him in Misery Mire, also get that God Mire, and she will probably try to go straight to the boss as well. And I haven't been keeping up with this properly. Look at DT's heart count. He is back down to 3. Wow. Since when are we mean?
I'm not sure how much I would put past Chad at this point. DT's going to try to save every frame he can. Goes for the quick hop, actually, on that ledge. A very small time save, but I think every single fraction of a second he can get to not get killed by and not have a fairy is probably worth it to him at this point. He's going to do everything he can to get there quickly.
So just keep in mind that although we are seeing the work of some big superstars sending effects to these runners individually, chat, you can pool your coins together. Use that pool button to contribute towards adding a whole big effect as a group to these runners.
And of course, as a reminder, ice physics will not work here in Misery Mire. So I see that there is a total that's pretty high up for that. We may want to save that for after the dungeon, though.
And DT has beaten the staircase boss, one of the most vicious enemies we've seen so far in this race.
We've seen a lot of resets on this boss.
And now, going in with fewer than enough arrows to take out Misery Mire's boss Vitreous, it's gonna have to get a little creative here.
A lot of people would recommend deboost strats, but that's not possible here. Fairies are out. Let's see if our runners can get through. I don't think DT even has blue mail. He can't take any hits, can he?
No, deboost does 1 heart, so that's safe. But, having that gold sword is enough to take out the eyes overall, and saving 8 arrows for the end of the boss is able to get that compass, and more importantly, the crystals.
Sad news for Sakura Tsubasa. Unfortunately, a camera glitch due to the way that she died and revived in that particular screen transition, which resetting with a mirror will fix, though not always is it a game-breaking problem. In that scenario, she couldn't get through that transition because of the way the door loaded. Well, I would say that DT is just 2 dungeons away, but I'm not sure how much weight I give to Ice Palace at this point. I almost want to call that like 5 dungeons.
It's on paper 2 dungeons, but I think you're right. Just is the wrong word to use.
Nevertheless, he will persevere, heading into Ice Palace now. Perhaps, maybe, just possibly the last time. But that's for you to decide, chat. As Violin mentioned before, you can pool towards these cumulative effects. So if you do have the 50 free promotional coins you can get per race, that's definitely something to chip them towards. As well, if you are a subscriber to Speed Gaming, there is an extra tab there that says subscribe that you can redeem additional coins for if you're already subscribed to the channel.
Thanks for the reminder about that.
Since we are pretty deep into the race, as a reminder, I don't know about you guys, but I think that these two have been putting on a fantastic show. Definitely, I'm interested to see how they're going to react after this, and I'm sure they're going to have some words for us. But it'd definitely be a great way to show them some support here on Twitch is to give them a follow if you haven't already. Both of them entertaining streamers in their own right. Both part of Team Illustrious as well. This is a Team Illustrious race today.
Yeah, I know, chat. We're seeing them die all the time. But trust me, it's not because they're bad at the game. Actually, it's quite the opposite.
Yes, we must actually contain them, because otherwise this would have been the shortest race. Well, that's Vitreous for Sakura Tsubasa, having completely vanquished the boss, will collect the crystal. Nothing holding her back now from... Oh wait, that's right. We still have Ice Palace.
Speaking of Ice Palace, speaking of staircase bosses, DT takes the kill and has a fairy and gets revived and fortunately can get out of that spiral staircase. I was worried there.
What a fortunate turn of events. The amount of sniping involved. I mean, keep in mind, folks, there is a stream delay involved, not only with the stream between the racer and you, but also the restream. So to be able to kill him so reliably on these staircases is truly a marvel of technology and human willpower.
Sakura's trying to get out of Sanctuary. It's hard to do that when your controller's not working properly, or rather has been made to not work properly.
I don't know about you, but like sometimes when I think about crowd control, I think of like, if you ever play Guitar Hero 3, the battle mode. You know how those effects exist that can like mess with your guitar?
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like it's just like a broken string, you know, just like an instant KO.
Alright. As DT enters the cold stair fight and may actually hit the floor for once, Sakura is going to head into Ice Palace as well.
He has made contact with the floor. This is the farthest we've been in Ice Palace in approximately 10 plus attempts.
Oh no. DT walks into cold stair. This is where that fairy comes in handy. Needs to land a few more shots. Gold Sword does make this easier. And that'll do it. There we go.
Despite the best efforts of chat, we have successfully managed to complete Ice Palace. Both of our runners now 1 crystal away from being able to head up to Ganon's Tower, which could end up being a frustrating experience in of itself. It's a long dungeon.
Meanwhile, DT, having taken out Cold Stair, just has to do Eastern Palace. That one, fortunately, not so long. He's actually running away from the duck, preferring to go by... DT, what are you doing? Okay, Okay.
A part of me thinks he didn't believe it was activated. I mean, this could be the effect of just so many activations in one race.
That's fair. Now that you mentioned it, I wasn't sure if his flute was ready or not.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts calling the Schrodinger's duck at this point.
Oh, Sakura having trouble setting up that bomb jump. See if she can manage it here. Oh, too low. And I like how DT switched to the lamp there, just using it a bit, draining enough magic that he can use his green potion so that coming up here he can stun a skeleton and give himself some more fairies.
And in that, we're starting to see some of the defensive nature of crowd control, as you do have to protect your bottle contents. I'm surprised he has not filled that bottle yet. There's an opportunity for a B, and in the name of DT, giving us way too much opportunity here. Sakura's also decreased heart container totals several times in the last 15-20 minutes, down to 3 hearts naturally speaking. This could be a very precarious situation for her.
Yeah, I can't recall if she's running on a fairy or not, but we're going to find out right here is she takes a death in the awful staircase room.
Just frames away from making it very terrible, but thankfully does manage to get back down. The same person who killed her gave her a fairy. Interesting.
That's nice, I think.
See, maybe that was an attempt to get it during a staircase, and that may have actually been the most vile combination possible. And I appreciate that.
Over on DT's side, looks like we missed the chance to remind people to take his arrows. Unfortunately, he misses a few shots and gets hit a couple times on Armos, but gets through it. He has 7 crystals. He can now climb to Ganon's tower. Does he have a flute activated, though?
That's an excellent question. He has persevered through absolute madness to get through these dungeons. I'm going to congratulate him for getting this far in this short of a time, to be honest with you. Well, that was the last opportunity to ruin his duck friend's aspirations to get him to the mountain, barring, of course, some unexpected soft lock save and quit, which is still definitely on the table. So finally, do we play the GT game here?
I don't know if we formally play it with a bot or anything, but certainly if you want to type numbers in the chat, something between 1 and 22 for big key locations in Ganon's tower, you can feel free to. Oh, look, numbers. Come on, chat, some of those numbers are above 22.
Hey, I mean, maybe if we have to revisit the dungeon and we glitch stuff out. I mean, I've seen a lot of this race that I'm continuously finding Hylia throughout this race. Dead Rocks are definitely finding Sakura on the mountain as well. She's going way out of her way to make sure that those are not in her path. So I don't know about you, but I'm hoping Bob is our friend today because that gives us a chance, or maybe, actually I kind of want a vanilla big key because then there's a chance to mess with Ice Armos.
You know, I'm with you. Usually I hope that we see it in Bob's chest, but here, I kind of want to see that Ice Armos fight. Nothing can go wrong in it, surely. TT gets Ganon's tower open or not, or wow, okay.
I'm pretty sure that messes up the cutscene.
Tower doesn't quite know how to respond when someone holds up 7 crystals in front of it, and then also takes those takes that person's life away. He may be stuck here. We'll see what we can do.
Judging by the delay, I believe he is going to have to use the control panel to kill himself in this scenario. This is a prevention tool that we have to make sure that runners in an absolute worst case scenario do have some recourse. But that's a long climb to get back up there, should that be the case.
Speaking of being stuck, Sakura got dead rocked a couple times on her way up the mountain. And there's DT with the forced death and then the fairy revival coming through.
Yeah, unfortunately, the well-intentioned fairy's not gonna do much for us.
No, they really aren't going to get him through. There we are, though. He is past this. And back on the pyramid.
So if you had been considering whether or not that duck should be unducked anyway, you could still actually make good use of that. Maybe somebody already has. I am
I think DT's
absolutely
afraid of
floored at
that
that kill.
and is just saving and quitting to avoid that. Sakura's just stopped here for a second so she could help DT sort out what was happening in front of the tower for him. She'll be back to racing in a second.
Yeah, as a reminder, crowd control is not limited just to the speed gaming platform. You can actually do this on your own streams as well, setting your own individual settings for these things. The nice thing about doing this on speed gaming, of course, is we get to present it to all of you with commentary. I'm definitely having a blast. I hope all of you are too. This has been a hilarious race to watch. I have not stopped grinning the entire time. It appears Sakura Sabasa will get through her cutscene.
And do keep in mind, Link to the Past isn't the only game that has crowd control. Off the top of my head, I know that Super Mario World has it, and if you think messing with someone's D-pad is bad in A Link to the Past, you need to see it happen in a Mario game.
Yeah, taking a quick look at the list, you can even do this with Dark Souls, various Mega Man games. They were doing a fun one actually with SimCity, which is interesting.
Wait,
for
what?
Super Nintendo. Yeah, that was just they wanted to try to like throw on some effects, see if they can apply it to like some game nobody else was asking for, just to see how it would work. I imagine that's probably pretty fun actually.
Yeah, okay, I'm on board. We see in the right side of GT, DT is going to pick up his bug net here. Sakura also got it, but of course, you guys were kind enough to give it to her a couple hours ago.
All right, well, both runners are neck and neck despite all of the things that we've done. They have somehow managed to converge. Perhaps chat has enough mercy to see this be a close race. At this point, the ice physics holding Sakura back in the Stalfos room, giving a little bit of time back to In the Name of DT. Perhaps he can actually catch up here.
Sakura always hopes for chest 7, that last chest in the Stalfos room. No such luck for her today. She's going to have to keep going through the left side, or, you know, just take a death and a no fairy revival, go back to the start of the dungeon.
And it looks like DT has filled bottles. Those of you looking to save and get the most value out of your exchanges may want to end up doing one-hit KO mode, but I would be careful about when and where you do it.
I mean, it's one thing to Oko a runner at the start of the gauntlet. It's another thing to Oko a runner at the end of the gauntlet. Do keep in mind, a few rooms right after Alanmo 2 are fairly straightforward. Not a lot of places for the runners to take damage.
However, damage boost strat's a little more popular afterwards, and then of course Moldorm is a threat. If you fall, you can also land on spikes, which is a very deadly part of that. And then the Aghanim 2 fight. Easy place to take damage as blue ball attacks are hard to predict. So we're seeing it discussed in chat, the decision to throw away fairies for Sakura Tsubasa to avoid soft locks. Interesting choice. That does put her in a very dangerous position for the rest of the tower.
It was fine, she just has to not take a death. Speaking of...
DT, unfortunately, seems to have encountered some kind of glitch with opening the chest on a certain frame with a death.
Oh no. Oh no, DT's stuck for the moment. See if we can get him out of this spot. We'll see what behind the scenes options we can have, because he is not moving on his own. And the very next chest holding the big key for him.
Oh no. You know, we've been saying it all race. The snipes in this game have been just absurd.
And
Looking like he's going to attempt to kill himself in order to get out of this.
I'm not totally sure what Sakura's up to here. Is she trying to death warp out of the dungeon? There we go. She's got her mirror. She's good.
Yeah, so it looks like behind the scenes we have some confirmation that getting killed during the item get animation definitely something that can bork the whole thing altogether. So despite that, DT's going to
Oh no.
go to the right side.
I mean, I understand why you do this. It's faster to get 4 chests if you just go right at this point, but it's not where he wants to be.
This will add extra salt and pain for the left side check that he inevitably has to do. We'll skip the tile room for now. We certainly understand that. I would not want to wait for chat to decide whether they're going to have mercy for that.
Always a little impressed when you manage to lock a runner either completely or just kind of get them stuck so that they have to take a death or a mirror. Chat, I've seen that happen several times. Again, we've said it before, you guys are on point today.
I'm pretty sure we've seen most of the potential soft lock scenarios at this point. A nice knockback from the sword swing there to get DT into that portal, though. That looked really nifty. And looks like Sakura has taken the restock room, so I believe she has at least 1 fairy, possibly 2.
Well, counts down to 0 or 1.
Being sent another fairy, it looks like the Maple Kingdom has shown up in force here in the gauntlet, looking to propel her to victory. It's still possible that DT could recover from this. After all, Ganon's Tower, the most notorious place in the entire game for taking a death.
That's right, and I'm not worried about DT's ability to climb the tower on 3 hearts. We've seen him do that plenty in other races. It's more a question of just, will people let him? Or also, will people let Sakura? She also has to watch her arrow count a bit, having 23 stolen from her just now.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to remember, of course. Ganon fight would normally not be such a big deal for either of these two silverless, but the possibility of ice physics, the possibility of one-hit KO, you want every advantage you can get. Oh, and a chatter has sent Sakura a green potion, which she will definitely want to use the magic in order to consume that potion to get another fairy.
Okay, so Sakura's favorite item is the blue cane. I think she's even got like an emote for it. So I like how she just says, okay, I've got quarter magic. I'm just going to walk through this landmill fight. I'm going to take it slow, take it easy, not take damage. But of course, blue cane doesn't protect you against crowd control kills.
Yeah, and that green potion, I think, was a tactical decision. You know, it could have been a fairy instead. It feels calculated to me. Well, just like that, the turntable.
Yeah, how the turntables have turned.
Sorry, I think I had a crowd control inversion effect on my wording there.
Oh no. DT out of arrows entirely due to some crowd snipes. I think he's going to go outside and dig them up. Shovel going to come in handy.
Yeah, that is probably the most handy place to get them. You would otherwise have to go through the left side and do a lot of extra rooms. So if you can get one this way, this is probably the best way.
I do like Sakura's play there of remembering there's 5 arrows under that pot in the second mimic room. Just pick them up, then get one stolen before you're even through the next room. Oh no.
Oh no.
DT gets the arrows, but takes an overworld death without a fairy. He's going to have to climb Death Mountain again.
I believe we may have some sadists in the chat, noticing that he was going to attempt to get more arrows, knowing how he was going to do so, and within that tiny window, punishing him drastically for it.
You know, I've seen a similar idea floated, which is like you send a kill to the player at the top again, its tower, then you invert their controls, so that when they revive, they push up and step outside. And you send them another kill right away that sends them back to the pyramid. I haven't seen it work in practice, but that play to snipe DT there comes pretty close.
I've seen less devastating combos at Combo Breaker tournament itself. So, I mean, these may be some fighting game champions in the chat. They're certainly looking to extrapolate as many things in a row as possible. I've seen just devastation after devastation after devastation. DT, still showing that he has a strong spirit, is still heading up there.
And Sakura's going with Bombo strats through the gauntlet right now. It's a very effective way to kill the enemies, doesn't take your ammo from your arrows or anything, meaning you'll still have silvers for Ganon, but this is a slow way to climb.
You know, speaking of slow things, DT has lost his arrows.
But he went out and picked them up. Oh no.
And I don't think he noticed.
No, he doesn't. Oh, maybe he does. He's inside the dungeon. He's going left. He might be going towards a pot.
Perhaps lesson learned.
Or, you know, maybe he's just going to farm fairies.
Well, that's 2 for him. He has some buffer. Unfortunately, this does open up the soft box yet again. If you're going for the known styles ones, no, you take these arrows.
Welcome back.
Apologies for that, folks.
Oh, but I like Robot Udai. He's my my metal friend who's fun to be with.
You know, I'm already seeing the jokes in chat about crowd control effects on the mic, so you know, I appreciate it. We're trying to have as much fun interactively as possible. And also, since we're on the subject, thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been an absolute blast.
Shoutouts to whoever threw that ice physics onto Saku when she gets to Torch Room. This is a hard enough room to get through normally. And when you don't have total control, you can't move fast enough to light these torches. And she's just going to have to take a few attempts at it. Or, you know, fall in a hole.
And even with quarter magic, still wise to use the lamp, as doing fire rod shots is likely to lead to you sliding off.
Well, now she had a magic debuff going on there, which would have spent her magic at a normal rate. Now she's got an inverted D-pad, which, as we can see, makes her eyes bug out, but also makes it harder to navigate around here.
Oh no, she takes a 1.0 hit from the fire bar. She is down to half a heart.
Oh no, in the pit. And does she have a fairy? No.
Well, Sakura has great spirits, definitely taking this in stride. We saw the laughter on her webcam from that. I mean, to be able to react that way, I mean, I'm impressed with both of these runners. Obviously, they have been through quite a bit today.
Alright. Back to this tower grind. DT now with the lead in this run, going up the tower. Notably, he's going to be doing it with a lot fewer resources, not having that quarter magic. It's nice that we gave him an arrow, though.
Well, DT is having his fairies expended here. We have not given up on the attempt to completely deplete them. The war on fairies has continued. And a decisive blow taken towards the fairy family. DT now depleted.
Uh-oh. Okay, he's still got fairies, of course.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he had a third bottle.
Does he have a third, or is he just getting fed them so quickly? I honestly can't keep track anymore. He's through Landmo too, that's the important part.
Yes, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, and if you don't defeat Aga 2, it could all be for naught. He will skip the magic. He is not stopping for that.
You know, given that the death came right there, it's almost too bad. Magic at least would have given him a full refill before he started this tower climb again.
Yeah, that's the tough part about expecting death, is it's hard to tell which pickups are really going to be worth stopping for. I mean, at this point, he's going to pretty much take any arrows he can get, I imagine.
Yeah, 19 is definitely enough to do this front part of the gauntlet. Though it's not enough to keep doing it ad infinitum. Meanwhile, Sakura, again, rocking that quarter magic, is going to have more than enough to just bombos her way through this dungeon.
I'm actually surprised that she's relying on Bombos, as this does put her under a lot of, danger. There's a lot of time to be spending in the rooms to give people an opportunity to interfere with her. Although, as you mentioned, it is a guaranteed screen nuke, so it's definitely useful for that. Well, I'm not sure if this is the third or fourth Lamolus 2 we've seen today. Might not be the last.
Oh, nice work. Crowd joining together, pooling those coins to take the death there. That'll do it. She's through Landmo too. And now, on her way back, almost back to that torch room she was in last time when she got ice physics D-pad inverted and generally messed with enough to die through her own doing, as opposed to through a crowd auto kill.
I've always been a fan of finding ways to kill a racer indirectly. If you have a way to make them make the mistake, I feel like it just adds to the mental taxation of that death. It's one thing if you just get killed, but when it's your fault,
It's another to take the death and go, well, I shouldn't let that happen. And DT, with the messed up controls, checks his map, figures out, yes, I am climbing the gauntlet, and can't find his sword button in time to strike Landmo.
Yeah, it's an undervalued effect, the inverted face buttons. I mean, if you're used to dashing a certain way, it's pretty tough. Oh, and Sakura Tsubasa's arrows have been completely drained.
Okay. So let's scan an incoming. DT picks up 5 of his own. That's 5 more arrows that we can just drain away before he gets to the top.
We could, that depends on the temperament of the chat. We have already declared a war on fairies. Do we have enough in the war chest to handle a war on arrows as well? That's for you to decide. That's certainly a large task to ask of you after all of these kills. But, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Chad. They have proven their perseverance today.
They sure have. Saku took a fall against Moldorm. And had to take out some Wizrubs before she felt safe climbing back up. And now we're just in Oko mode, which, as you said, in Moldorm 2 fight, can be pretty nasty. If you fall off the tower wrong, you can just land in spikes right there. Or, you know, activate your Cane of Burna, give yourself invincibility, and then walk straight through Moldorm.
Well, there's the ice physics, and thankfully getting 10 arrows out of the last possible chest in the game. Sakura trying her odds, and it worked.
Fantastic find. Most runners in crowd control would open that chest anyways, just so that you can hookshot back across the gap if you come back to the room, without having to fight Moldorm a second time.
Well, she's got inverted D-pad, face buttons, and ice physics to get through these this mini Helmasaur conveyor room. Will manage to do so with an expired one-hit KO, which I'm sure is absolutely required in this scenario.
Yeah, I want to draw a distinction between my strategy under these conditions and Sakura's. Hers is to figure out how her controller's working and go through the room, and mine would just be to sit outside the room and not move.
And either way, that's definitely time loss, seeing as there is a fairy animation here that she has to deal with, and the potential for risky soft lock situations. So, up to you if you want to go one way or the other. I think both strategies are valid. Just, you never know which one's right until it's too late. And would you look at that? We are screen for screen, frame for frame almost.
Or we were until Saku went right instead of left, but yeah, these runners have come in very close to each other.
Now, of course,
Sakura
both runners
pulling out that bug net.
patterns. You said it best. She does best with the bug net, and unfortunately, a little late on that swing, but one-hit KO proving lethal here.
It's okay, she's got a fairy. Oko mode's over. She's got this, surely. You know,
DT has successfully cleared the tower. Wow.
it's a really good thing that the unduck effects don't prevent the Aga 2 cutscene from working.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely vicious. I can't even imagine. that soft lock would just be too painful. I mean, you can die in this cutscene, but ugh. Also, shout out to the exceptional triple with Bugnet. I don't normally ignore that, but yeah, that was really nice.
Alright, with Gold Sword, this Ganon fight is usually a walk in the park, just 6 quick slashes per phase. TT, why are you doing spin attacks? Gold Sword doesn't help.
Unfortunately, Green Mail, not a lot to work with here. You cannot actually take any damage. That is all deadly.
Yeah, Ganon Hugs do 8 against Green Mail, which, against even Sakura's heart count at this point, is a one-hit KO. Heck, Fire Bats do 4, so that'll do it for DT.
I think he did have a third bottle. I mean, he could have been given a fairy, but... Well, people are going all out to try and even up this race to, I guess, the beginning of the fight for everybody over and over and over again.
Oh no, DT takes a fire bat, and this may... No, he's still got one.
It seems like chat really has faith in him. They're not going to give up on this fight just yet, and Sakura does take an advantage, a lead, making it through halfway through phase 3 before he's even finished phase 2.
Oh, and look at that number underneath Sakura's arrow count. That is not a 0-0. That is an infinity sign. She has all the golds, or all the silver arrows she could possibly use for the next minute here.
A not frequently seen Ganon text, did you find my arrows on planet Zebes? As we cannot actually find them in Hyrule, you have to be gifted them.
Wait, I didn't know this was a combo randomizer run. Oh, and just in time, Sakura's out of arrows. She's going to have to do the rest of this with silverless spins. DT already getting underway with that.
Yeah, someone did kindly give him infinite arrows, perhaps not realizing that they weren't silver anyway. You could still give him silver arrows if you wanted to give him an edge here. Although I think both of these runners feel very comfortable with their silverless strats. It's just a matter of whether or not we give them something that's going to kill them.
Yeah, DT's pulling off multiple triples. Well, sometimes he freezes Ganon, but by and large he knows his way around this fight, as does Sakura.
DT is definitely in position without his Ice Spell or one-hit KO to finish this up before Sakura. He's definitely going to be, at this rate, done with the fight first. He does also have the advantage of Torch Glitch. I can't believe how much the chat's doing to Sakura here. Getting down to the wire, DT almost running out of magic will manage to end the kill.
Oh, there we are. Persevering through the fight, DT is going to come out on top of this round. And was B-Torp ever here with all those bees in bottles? We saw Sakura back outside now.
You may not have seen it before, but she actually has full, well, the infinite magic power-up, a rainbow-colored Technicolor display. One of my favorite effects, actually, for that reason. We don't tend to see a lot when someone has squirted magic, but someone has definitely taken mercy on her and said, hey, you know, this has been absolutely insane. Let's at least give her that advantage. What an up and down race. I mean, this has just been absolutely wild, start to finish.
Yeah, between that early butter sword that Sakura was given pretty much before she was out of Kakariko, to the early flute, which meant an undock a duck, an undock a duck, all the way through that incredibly memorable cold stare drop DT got hit with. This has been a wild ride.
Well, it looks like we're going to have maybe a couple minutes here to potentially get some words from both of our runners. There is actually another race that's coming up after this. The Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer Finals, Game 2, will be on this channel. So we'll hopefully get a couple words in from our runners before they take off to clear the space for them. But before we get DT into the chat, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. This has been absolutely a blast start to finish. Definitely the most fun I've had commentating for a randomizer race, and I have to thank you, chat, for making that possible.
Yeah,
Also,
Yudai and I were just here to talk about it and laugh at your effects. Your effects were what really brought the magic here.
Figuratively and literally. And get a GG in chat, of course, for Sakura Tsubasa, who has managed to slay the pig. Also finding out the B-Torp was here. Certainly never had any inclination of that from the bees. And it appears we are joined by the victor of the race in the name of DT. Congratulations. I gotta ask you, how are you feeling about these crowd control effects right now?
Well, DT can't answer at the moment. Let's ask Sakura that same question.
What are we asking?
How?
Yeah, I came in like as you guys were asking the tail end of it. I didn't hear the full question.
Well, we're trying to
Yudai,
get
what was
your
your question?
pulse. What's your pulse on these crowd control effects? Are you two feeling like, you've been through the ringer, or are you feeling like you've conquered something, challenging today?
I feel like someone owes me a fat cheeseburger after that.
Yes.
Yikes. I feel like I was getting like super nice at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it's like the floodgates opened, and I got so hecked up.
Yeah, I don't even know what just happened. I'm dumbfounded. GG, Saku, let's say that at least.
GG.
Oh my
Weird.
god.
Yeah, oh my god. I know that we don't have a lot of time because I know that there's a thing coming up like right away. But
Yeah, so just very quickly, DT, which was your favorite part of this race? Was it getting stuck on the stairs in Mire or getting stuck trying to enter Gold Stair?
They were both equally good, and it was to the point where I had no choice but to mirror. There was literally nothing I could do. What I found funny about the Cold Stair fight was that when you stand at the top of the room normally, those ice balls that fall don't normally hit you, but apparently when you're above the room, they can hit you. That's what I was thinking right there.
And I'm starting to think that some of the Saku Evil emotes that were showing up in chat, I'm not sure if there were for you or against you in this case, Sakura. I mean, you definitely got both ends of that, that crowd
Yeah.
effect from, I'm assuming, your community.
Probably. I did see quite the heckening going on for me early, or like later on, but at the beginning, I don't know, like 3 minutes into the thing, not even, I had Butter Sword, so that was great, and Quarter Magic and Silvers. Didn't have the bow, but I had all that stuff, so that was great. But then, I don't know, I made so many silly mistakes, like dipping into something and then being like, oh wait, yeah, I can go do this other thing, and then leaving, and I was like, oh wait, no, I could have finished Skull Woods because I had the fire rod, or I could have finished other things and picked up book stuff, and yeah, it was silly, but yeah, I thank you very much. Thank you so much to our commentators. I really appreciate you guys doing this for me and for DT. It means a lot.
Oh, it was an absolute riot to watch this. This was a ton of fun, and props to both of you for sticking through this. It was some really impressive execution and perseverance on both your parts.
No, thank you so much. And was Clifford our tracker today?
Yeah, he was.
Yo, Clifford, thank you so much for tracking. DT, thank you so much for racing me.
Saku,
Really
you're very
appreciate it.
welcome.
So yeah, we have finals for Final Fantasy. Hang on, what is it? Final Fantasy 1 randomizer coming up. So I'll let you guys do your outro. Thank you guys so much for having us, me and DT.
I'm not sure there's much more outro to do other than say stick around, watch those finals of the Final Fantasy 1 randomizer tournament, and guys, thank you again so much for all those wacky shenanigans. I had a blast. I've been Philian. I've been joined by Yudai Monistic.
Yep, and thank you so much for joining me, Philion. The final remark I'm going to make is I don't know if I'd characterize this as a heckening. I think it's more of a cluckening. We saw chickens left, right, and center, and I am so proud of this community for that. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Stay tuned. We have Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer Finals Game 2 coming up. And thanks again so much for everything. We'll see you soon.
And don't forget to follow the commentators because they're awesome.